the Temple of the King, was it?
Temple of the King.
Temple of the King, apparently.
Asakusa, Temple of the King.
There you go. There you have it. From the early days, a temple town around the famous Sensoji Temple, which was founded in the 7th century. Over time, Asakusa evolved into a major entertainment and cultural district, while still retaining its historical significance as a place of spirituality and tradition. The district became a hub for theatre, entertainment, and shopping in the Edo period, with many visitors flocking to see the temple and its surrounding attractions. In essence, the name Asakusa reflects the natural environment of the area before it became the bustling cultural hub it is today. In the heart of Tokyo, where bright lights give way to centuries-old temples, there's not much that this place hasn't seen. From fires and wars to emperors and outlaws, Asakusa isn't just a tourist stop, it's a walk through history, with Sensoji Temple standing at its core. But here's what you didn't realize. Hidden in its past are secrets that shaped this city. From a mysterious statue fished out of a river to an underground world of entertainment, Asakusa's story is truly wilder than you could imagine. Let's venture in and discover how, in true Japanese fashion, what's shown on the surface may not always tell the whole story.
Let's walk this way.
Asakusa embodies a fascinating dichotomy, a place where spiritual devotion and worldly indulgence have long coexisted.
Temple of the King, right?
Temple of the King. It's actually that way.
Okay. I'm facing that way.
Here we are, we've now gone into Asakusa. We're on our way to the famous temple. I forget the name. We'll have to find out that later. And are you sure about that?
Not really. Temple of the King dato. Asakusa. Why they call Asakusa? What the history of Asakusa?
Once a revered center of worship,
Not Yakuza?
no, its iconic Sensoji Temple drew pilgrims seeking enlightenment and solace. Yet just beyond the temple grounds, the area flourished with theaters, tea houses, and Yoshiwara's very own red light district, catering to all earthly desires. This striking contrast reflects the duality of human nature, the pursuit of purity and transcendence, alongside the craving for pleasure and escape. It also reveals how people compartmentalize their lives, honoring tradition and faith in one breath, while surrendering to carnal temptations in the next. The proximity of these seemingly opposing worlds underscores a universal truth. Life is rarely lived in absolutes. Instead, it unfolds in the gray spaces between virtue and vice, discipline and indulgence, mirroring the complexity of human values and the blurred lines between what is deemed sacred and profane. So, apparently the story goes that in the year 628, there were two fishermen who basically pulled out a golden statue out of the Sumida River. And upon trying to throw that statue back into the water, the statue kept reappearing. So they took this as a sign of the divine, and with the help of a wealthy local, they recognized the significance of this event, and they then converted the home of this wealthy individual into a temple to enshrine that reappearing statue. By the year 645, Sensoji was officially established, making it Tokyo's oldest temple. And over the centuries, it became a center of devotion for the common people and a symbol of protection for the city. During the Edo period, Asakusa thrived as a bustling entertainment district. Thanks to its close ties with Sensoji, it went through a period of development and growth. The Tokugawa shogunate heavily supported the temple, and surrounding areas flourished with markets, kabuki theaters, and street performers.
That one is sky. That one is tree. Sky tree. Sky tree. I thought it's Tokyo Tower.
The sky tree. You can see
sky.
right there is sky tree.
It's sky, and then that one is tree. Sky tree.
There you go, guys. You heard it yourself
Right?
from this one.
But today the sky is so beautiful.
Beautiful sky.
Beautiful sky. Surround the people.
The famous Nakamise Dori, which today is the walking path lined with shops either side that leads to the temple, was established during this time, selling snacks and souvenirs to pilgrims and visitors. Asakusa became the cultural and entertainment heart of Edo, which is modern-day Tokyo, housing theaters, geisha houses, and early forms of amusement parks. As the Meiji government worked to enforce their vision of Shintoism as the state religion, they faced a delicate balancing act. On one hand, they were determined to promote spiritual purity and distance it from influences of Buddhism, which had long been intertwined with many aspects of Japanese daily life, including its spiritual practices. On the other hand, they had to acknowledge the complexities of human nature, the inherent temptations and desires that existed within society. This is where the establishment of Yoshiwara, Tokyo's infamous red light district, comes into play. Situated not far from Sensoji, the government made a peculiar yet purposeful decision to create a physical and symbolic divide between the sacred and the profane. Their reasoning was based on the idea that by isolating the area of vice, they could better protect places of worship and maintain spiritual purity. In this context, the government's justification for the red light district was to separate worldly desires from the sanctity of religious practices. By keeping the hedonistic pleasures of the district confined to one area, it was believed they could prevent these indulgences from corrupting the spiritual experiences at Sensoji. The goal was to allow people to engage in these desires without it negatively impacting their spiritual journey or practices. This action of separation reflects a very unique approach to managing human desires. It wasn't about eliminating temptation altogether, but rather about containing it. By placing the red light district near the sacred, the government created a clear distinction between that which was sacred and that which was worldly. In their view, making it easier for people to navigate both spaces without mixing the two. However, the proximity of the two areas also created a fascinating juxtaposition. Here, we have one of Japan's most revered spiritual sites, filled with worshippers seeking peace and enlightenment, next to a district that symbolized indulgence and excess. This contrast reflects the eternal tension within human existence, the balance between spiritual aspirations and the pull of earthly desires. The government's strategy of physical separation aimed to preserve the purity of religious spaces while still acknowledging the reality of human desires. Asakusa is a neighborhood that has long stood at the crossroads of tradition and temptation, revealing the complex nature of human existence. On one hand, it has been a spiritual center, home to the revered Sensoji Temple, drawing people seeking enlightenment. On the other, its proximity to Yoshiwara's red light district reminds us of humanity's pursuit of pleasure, often in opposition to the spiritual path. This duality is a reflection of the way people live their lives, seeking meaning and purpose while also grappling with their earthly desires. Asakusa's rich history captures a delicate balance between honor and indulgence, showing that life isn't simply about absolutes, but about navigating the space between them. Asakusa is a place where two worlds collide. The timeless reverence of Sensoji, with its centuries of devotion, exists just steps away from what was once Yoshiwara, the city's infamous red light district. A temple of worship and reflection, standing in plain sight of a place once dedicated to earthly pleasures. It would be easy to imagine that this coexistence was intentional, that the authorities placed the two side by side as a way to create a moral boundary, separating virtue from vice, the sacred from the sinful. But the truth is more pragmatic. When Yoshiwara was relocated in 1657, it was simply due to urban planning, moved away from the city center to control and contain the pleasure quarters. Its closeness to Sensoji was a coincidence, not a moral statement. And yet, coincidence or not, the contrast became inseparable. Pilgrims seeking spiritual salvation walked the same streets as revelers chasing fleeting pleasures. The smoke of incense mingled with the scent of perfume, and the chants of monks faintly echoed beyond the laughter of courtesans. But while the lines between these two worlds seemed clear, in reality, they were never truly separate. The human heart has always contained both longing and contradiction. Even Buddhism, for all its teachings on detachment and enlightenment, was not immune to the complexities of human nature. The Meiji restoration of the late 19th century, with its separation of Shinto and Buddhism, exposed corruption and abuse in some temples, as religious institutions faced growing government scrutiny. Though Sensoji itself remained largely untainted, the reputation of Buddhism became entangled with human frailty. And in that light, the red light district nearby no longer seemed like such a contradiction. Instead, it stands as a mirror, a reflection of the human condition. Both spaces, though so different in form, were ultimately built on the same longing for escape, whether from earthly suffering or spiritual yearning. And perhaps that is why Asakusa still resonates today. The temple stands as a beacon of continuity, while the streets around it pulse with life, commerce, and indulgence. A place where the sacred and the profane continue their age-old dance, neither overshadowing the other. And in the end, maybe that is what makes Asakusa feel so authentically human. A place where we can witness not just the conflict between virtue and vice, but the beautiful complexity of both existing together in plain sight. And so, as we wrap up our journey through Asakusa today, it's clear that this neighborhood offers far more than just ancient temples or bustling streets. It's a window into the heart of human nature, where spirituality and desire, purity and temptation often exist side by side. Whether it's the quiet prayers at Sensoji or the neon lights over Yoshiwara, these contrasts remind us that life is full of complexities, and sometimes it's in these contradictions where we find the truest expressions of who we are. Thank you so much. We hope you've enjoyed our journey through Asakusa and Sensoji Temple. Tune in next time for more stories from places where history and the human experience intertwine. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep discovering the unexpected layers of the world around you. See you in the next adventure.
I gotta come.